Continuing our look into the archaeology of Jordan, let's welcome Dr. Chang-ho. Chang is an associate director here at the Center for Near Eastern Archaeology and is dean of the School of Education. In addition to all of his work here at La Sierra University, he moonlights as director of the Ataruz excavation project in Jordan.
All right, thank you very much. My site is named Khirbat Ataruz. It is located in the east side of the Dead Sea. As you can see on this aerial photo, you can see that Umeri, Madaba, and Balua, they're lined up along the King's Highway, ancient highway. Ataruz is a bit further to the west. It is the central city in the region called Jabal Hamida, but it has a very scenic view to the west. Khirbat Ataruz is kind of unique in many ways, but one of the uniqueness lies in its textual historical background. Ataruz is mentioned in the Old Hebrew Bible, Numbers 32, and then, yes, chapter 32. Here it is mentioned as the city that is given to the Gadites, and also the Gadites built upon Ataruz, along with several other cities. More importantly, Ataruz is very well identified as Ataroth in the Mesha inscription. Khirbat Ataruz project, besides excavation, have been doing regional survey as well for the past 10 years. What we identified is there were several ancient road system was passing, and then they came together to the location of the Khirbat Ataruz. So Khirbat Ataruz was the hub where many ancient roads passed by. Especially, it was the very important city in the middle of geographically, roughly in the half point between ancient capital city of the Moabite Dibon and then Jericho. So it has a very important economic functions as well. So far at Ataruz, we found many layers of ancient settlements, but at the bottom, two green-colored one is called the stratum 7 and stratum 8. This is a very much cultic one, and archaeologically we call them Iron Age 2A period. More likely late 10th century to mid 9th century BC. And then this period is very well aligned with Gadites or Israelites. And this city was very violently destroyed, and then no actual objects remained intact. Everything was smashed, and then it was all the buildings collapsed. Stratum 5 and stratum 6, which is orange color, covers Iron Age 2B period, roughly from late 9th century to early 7th century BC. This is very clearly, we call it Moabite. And this settlement was abandoned sometime in 7th century BC, followed by a long occupational gap. And then you can see stratum 4, which is yellow color, that is late Hellenistic to early Roman period from 1st century BC to early 1st century AD. During this period, Ataruz was part of the Jewish Perea. So we have some settlements connected with intertestamental as well as New Testament period. And then another settlement gap entailed, and then more Islamic settlements came in. Now I'm going to spend a short period of time about the Mesha stela, because this is one of the most important writings that we have from biblical period. It was found 1868, and then it was actually victory stele by King Mesha of Moab. It describes the conflict between Moabite as well as the King Omni's northern kingdom of Israel. In this long inscription, especially I want to focus on line 10 to 14. So I'm going to read it. Now the Gadites had lived in the land of Ataroth forever, and the king of Israel had rebuilt Ataroth for himself. But I fought against the city and took it, and killed entire population of the city as satiation for Chemosh and for Moab. I brought back from there the altar hearth of Isdaud and dragged it before Chemosh in Khirbat. I settled in it the Sharonites and the Maharathites. This 5 lines has a lot of connotations for us for archaeological studies because it identifies who built the city. And then this city was violently destroyed by King Mesha. And then he killed all the people living in that city for the purpose of religious cleansing. And also this inscription implies that there was some kind of an important altar there. And then new people called the Shadonites or Maharatites. We don't know exactly who they were, but they seem to be tribes associated with the Moabites. So with this background, we're going to come back to this line at the end of this presentation. But this is another background here. If you open the 2 Kings chapter 3, there is a war between the Moab and then allies of Israel, Judah, and Edom. And then this war didn't happen actually in the vicinity of Ataruz, but it is actually historical background that Ataruz can explain, very well. This is the aerial view of Ataruz. At the center, you can see temple in the dark circle. It was surrounded by well-built defense wall, and then also dry moat surrounded it. And then we think staircase was between temple and then gate system on the eastern slope. This is a closer view of the Acropolis. You can see that on the right end, we have a main sanctuary area, which comprised of the 3 main rooms. It was flanked by western and eastern high places. And then near western high places was a holy cistern. In this presentation, is not included, but we cleaned and then dug the cistern. We found a bull relief carved on the cistern wall. And then in the summer solstice day, it was designed to receive sun beams. So we know that the bull carved inside the holy cistern was associated with the bull worship, and it was used for the cultic purposes of the temple. And then in front of the main sanctuary room, there were many altars, as well as one rectangular structure that included many cultic objects, which I'm going to show you later. And then to the east, we think there was outer courtyard. So far, our excavation in that area was limited, but so far we found kitchen that was used for the temple, as well as the area that animal was sacrificed. And also, Moabite sanctuary was located further to the north outside of this courtyard area. When the temple was destroyed in late 9th century by Moabites, they sealed inner courtyard and the main sanctuary, which protected the area. And the Moabite settlements was centered to the east and to the north of the main cultic temple area. I'm going to show you quickly some main buildings. This is main sanctuary of the cultic complex. And this is hearth room, where we believe holy fire, holy flame was kept. This room was full of fine ashes, but no animal bones. And then no cultic objects were found. But there were 2 benches equipped inside this room, which implies to us that probably priests or the worshippers sitting on this bench and observing and worshiping the fire in this hearth. And then to the north, there was a double platform room where we think offerings was given to the god. And this is a quick photo of the eastern high place. And then this is a western high place. In front of the western high place, there was a western courtyard. If we pass out, walk out from this western high place, we pass through the anteroom, and then we come to the standing stone. So standing stone was a very important part of the cultic complex. And then this is the inner courtyard. As you see, there was a rectangular room where we found the bull statue, which is on the left, lower left. This room included many other cultic objects as well. And also the inner courtyard had a staircase where we believe worshippers sitting there while their sacrifices was burned on the altars. And also we currently excavating possible monumental staircase to the temple that was located between the city gate and then main temple. These are some selected cultic objects. This is one of the very famous bull storage jar, we call it. It has 7 bulls relieved around the storage. This storage was standing right in front of the standing stone in the main sanctuary room. This is a bull statue found from that rectangular room in the courtyard. And this is incense terracotta altar. It has 4 horns and 2-story, which is preserved by the Andrews team. And now we know that it was full of decoration, and then it has 4 horns. This is the only portable 4-horned altars found in the East, even though they are very common in the west side of the Jordan Valley. And then female shrine models were found, even though number 2, the one that you see on the right, is still quite debatable because some minority views this is not a female, but they are male because of the short kilt. But definitely one on the left is the female shrine model. And also we have a cornice probably used for the libation, as well as we have many cultic objects, including diverse lamp. So we have a 5-sprout lamp on the left, and also bowl decorated with the lamps. And then also we had many portable altars, incense burners here, and this is one of those. To summarize, Ataruz temple, which was very cultic site and very important. We know that it was 9th century and then possibly Amrite or Gedite. It was very much public religion, not private religion. And also deity was represented by bull and standing stone. And it was very much masculine, in other words, except for that 1 or 2 female shrine models, we didn't find any female, any kind of female related, kind of objects there. And also we know that it was very much polytheistic, even including sun worship and then the serpent, motif. One of the most important discovery from Ataruz is this Moabite inscription, which was found in the Moabite shrine that is dated from late 9th to early 8th century BC. It was excavated 2010, and then 2 days later, when we were removing the dirt, we found it was actually inscribed altar. And then it took many years for top scholars involved. And then we finally could interpret and then published a couple years ago. So here's the interpretation. There were 2 inscriptions with the 7 lines, 4 with 8 shekels of bronze, and these 2 shekels of bronze. Total plunder 10. So inscription A strongly implies that there was some sort of plundering took place. And also bronze was one of the common objects that we found in the temple. Inscription B, more interesting, 4 plus 60 from the Hebrews, and the 4,014 men were scattered and then abandoned in great number from the desolate city, which are burnt offering an incense altar, acquiring land. Especially inscription B, it has some overlaps with Mesha inscription. On top of that, even though it's not confirmatory, the majority view is that some kind of a Hebrew name is mentioned in this line. And then second line strongly implies that people were killed or they had to leave the city because of the war. And then line 3 indicates is desolated and there is some sort of offering altar. This is remindful of the Mesha inscription, and the land was acquired. So this inscription that we found in the Moabite shrine, not only it is important because this is the earliest Moabite script inscription, but also interesting enough, it has a strong connection with the Mesha inscription. If the second interpretation is correct, Ataruz seems to one of the very rare archaeological findings that support and buttress what we see in the Mesha inscription, what we read in the Mesha inscription. So this is part of the many findings that we are doing at the site. And then also we're still trying to understand more about the city. despite 20 years excavation, still our excavation of the temple continues. We haven't reached the limit yet. On top of that, because of the mesh inscription, Iron 2B period, we know that it is Moabite. So comparing Iron 8 to A, Iron 2B, not only just because of religion, but also material cultures, as well as architecture. So we can learn comparing Moabite versus other tribes, groups that lived and then controlled the area. So this is very exciting and then kind of prime cultic site, but also has a very close relationship with many biblical passages, including the war between the Israel and the Moabites.
Are there any inscriptions or material culture, or what is it that connects Ataruz with biblical Atarot?
We don't, but the modern name Ataruz, everyone knows this is very ancient name. And then no one knows exact the meaning of that name. Some people call it crowns, other people, say something else. But Ataruz is definitely very antique, old name. And then we think this is preserving the old name. And then in the area, there's no other site that has that name. So of course, in archaeology, nothing 100% perfect, but this is one of those rare cases that preserving names over 3,000 years.
Great. Next question is there any evidence of trade between Ataruz, Balua, and Numeri?
That's a very interesting question, because when we look at Iron 2B, especially pottery, we see painted ware that was not present in Iron Age 2A period. It has a color with the bands. Definitely that kind of pottery was found in the Madhava Plains, as well as the Diban Plateau. So we do think those pottery tradition came from the East, even though it doesn't really related with the trade, but it may indicate migration of the new people from there. But as I said, Ataruz was connected with many other cities through this complicating road system. So road means people traveled, that means it is trade, right? So we can actually indirectly, say it that way, yeah.
And actually, there's a piece of Ataruz pottery behind you, if you want to show. Our next question is there any evidence of Nabatean occupation at Ataruz?
That's a very good question. Not at the Ataruz. That is actually one of my main research area, because besides Iron Age period, my research heavily focused on Nabatean and the early Roman period. My kind of a position at the moment is Ataruz, they control the Diban Plateau, but not move toward the other side of Sail Haydan, even though it is not impossible, very, very short-term occupation of Macarius. But even that is based upon about 2 dozens of Nabatean painted ware. But Nabatean painted ware can be the result of trade rather than occupation. So at the moment, I think Nabatean, they stopped Diban Plateau when they moved to the north,
Perfect. And last one, is there an excavation season coming up?
Yes, we are planning next year, but we say inshallah because of COVID. So we actually supposed to have a season this year, but we canceled. We are planning at this moment, but it's likely to be a small team, but also we are going to conduct geological, radar penetration, research, because the northern part of the mine site is currently covered by modern cemetery, which we cannot excavate. So by doing this GPR, we hope we can see any architecture, so it may help us to understand, what were there behind temple. We are excavating, and so we know what is before, in front of the, temple. but what was behind the temple is never we're going to excavate. So I think indirectly, at least we can answer that questions this year.
Excellent. Thank you so much.